Hey everyone, welcome to Recap Blitz. This is the story of a terrifying parasite, a creature that can invade a human brain through the ear and take complete control of a person. What this parasite does to humans once it possesses them is horrifying, and in this story, we will see it all unfold. The story begins with the parasites emerging from the filthy, dark waters of the sea. Strange, grotesque creatures creep out from the depths, slowly moving toward the city. Their arrival is silent but ominous, carrying with them a threat that no one can see yet. As the city sleeps unaware, we shift to a quiet home where a husband and wife are resting peacefully. Suddenly, one of the parasites approaches the husband. In a shocking moment, it slips into his ear. The man writhes in pain, fear flashing across his face, struggling against the invisible invader. But slowly, the terror fades as the parasite establishes its control. Meanwhile, we meet a young boy named Shinichi, who is enjoying some music in the comfort of his room. His peace is abruptly interrupted when another parasite attempts to enter his ear. But Shinichi, alert and quick, senses the danger. The parasite, finding the ear inaccessible, forces its way into his nose. Shinichi reacts immediately, grabbing and throwing the parasite away in a panic. But it's not so easily defeated. The creature leaps toward him again, trying to enter through his hand. Shinichi struggles as it burrows into his hand, causing him to panic further. In desperation, he ties his hand with a cloth and immobilizes it with a rock, trying to stop the parasite from taking over completely. Hearing his cries, Shinichi's mother rushes in. He explains frantically that a parasite has entered his hand, but his mother dismisses it, thinking he is joking. She gently unties his hand, looking for the creature, but sees nothing. It seems the parasite has vanished, leaving both mother and son bewildered. Shinichi is confused and anxious, feeling an odd sensation in his hand, unsure of where the parasite has gone. His mother notices him listening to the same music she had warned him about and scolds him, telling him to avoid such songs, thinking they're making him anxious before leaving the room. Shinichi is left alone, increasingly worried, sensing something strange inside him. Back with the husband, the parasite's control grows stronger. It takes over his brain entirely and transforms him into a monstrous creature. In a horrifying scene, he moves toward his wife, his mouth opening into a gaping, alien maw filled with countless eyes. Before his wife can react or understand what is happening, the parasite forces him to attack her, fully using him as a vessel to carry out its monstrous will. Meanwhile, Shinichi's life begins to change in subtle but frightening ways. On his way to school with friends, he notices that his behavior is no longer entirely his own. His right hand seems uncontrollable, acting on its own, moving objects incorrectly, frustrating him and his friends. In class, his pencil falls, and as he reaches to pick it up, his hand grows abnormally large, performing actions he cannot control. Later, while playing basketball, he notices his hand striking the ball with inhuman strength, throwing it effortlessly into the hoop from a great distance. Confused and scared, Shinichi returns home and searches the internet, trying to understand what is happening to him. He briefly sees the parasite, which retreats into his body again, evading him. He even attempts to remove it from his hand, but his hand reacts violently, changing shape and terrifying him. At one point, his hand transforms into a smaller, alien creature that can speak. It tells Shinichi that it has failed at something, and Shinichi, terrified, asks what has happened to his hand. The creature, equally shocked, responds in confusion, showing that it too does not fully understand the transformations it is causing. The hand creature pleads with Shinichi to teach it how to communicate properly, revealing a strange mix of fear, curiosity, and cooperation between human and parasite. Meanwhile, the man who was taken over by the parasite continues his horrifying life under its control. The parasite uses him to learn human language through television, gradually understanding how to manipulate humans further. And, in an even darker turn, the parasite has already attacked his wife, showing just how terrifying and cunning these creatures are when they take over a human body. The next morning, Shinichi woke up to an unsettling sight. The creature that had merged with his hand was already busy, its small, alien-like body hovering over his laptop and books, reading through all the information about humans. Shinichi watched, a mix of fear and curiosity gripping him. The creature spoke in a chilling, almost casual tone. "If I enter your body fully, you would have to cut your entire hand to remove me. No human could ever do that." The words made Shinichi shiver, realizing how impossible it was to get rid of it. Then, the creature explained how it had tried to take over his entire body, but because Shinichi had blocked it with a rock, it could only attach itself to his hand. Now, they were inseparably linked. "You are mine, and I cannot do anything without my host," the creature said. The tension between them was palpable. Fear, caution, and strange trust all mixed together. The creature then told Shinichi it wanted to learn more about humans. It insisted that Shinichi help it study countless books in school and observe human behavior. The creature had already watched students practicing fighting and, astonishingly, could learn skills just by observing. Shinichi, still terrified but intrigued, had no choice but to cooperate. Later, in art class, Shinichi was quietly working on his painting when a fellow student, Maggie, approached. Her tone was sharp, almost threatening. "If you do that again, I will take your life," she warned. Shinichi's heart raced, but he showed her his painting anyway. Maggie glanced at it and left, leaving Shinichi shaken but safe for the moment. After school, as night fell, Shinichi and Maggie had a private conversation. The creature inside Shinichi spoke again, explaining that it needed to investigate his body further. Maggie and Shinichi had developed a strong bond. They were friends, and she never wanted to harm him. Yet, in the city, many other parasites were already controlling humans, killing and feeding without anyone knowing who was responsible. The news spread fear throughout the city, but the common people remained oblivious to the truth. The two of them went to a shop where they witnessed a man entirely possessed by another parasite. He was forcing a normal human to feed on other humans, showing the horrifying control the parasites had. But when the man discovered Shinichi's parasite was still partially linked to his brain, he realized that Shinichi was not fully under the parasite's control. Maggie sensed the danger immediately and warned Shinichi, "It will kill you if you stay here. Run." They tried to escape, but the doors wouldn't open. The possessed man approached, severed one of his own hands, and demanded Maggie use it to manipulate Shinichi's hand. But Maggie refused, protecting her friend at all costs. Using the fighting techniques Shinichi had learned, they managed to separate the man's parasite from his body. The parasite was destroyed, but Shinichi escaped through the back door, hiding the truth from his mother. Meanwhile, the city continued to experience mysterious disappearances, with no one except Shinichi knowing the real reason. The parasites were hunting humans. Shinichi tried to warn the parasites under his control not to harm humans, but Maggie explained, "Our food is humans, just as humans eat animals and vegetables. As long as you survive, I survive, and I get food from your body. There is no need to harm others." This strange, disturbing balance kept them alive and safe, bound together by necessity. The next day at school, while Shinichi was attending classes, Maggie sensed another parasite at work, someone controlling another human. Through the principal's actions and observations, they identified the parasite as Tamiya, a unique creature that experimented on other parasites. Tamiya was different from the others, curious, and even willing to impregnate herself with another parasite to study the results. She confronted Shinichi and explained her intentions. She wanted to observe humans and parasites, not to harm normal people unnecessarily. She warned him that his girlfriend was nearby, so Shinichi had to be careful not to seem distracted or infatuated by the new teacher, maintaining the delicate balance between friendship, fear, and curiosity in this dangerous world. Through these experiences, Shinichi realized the terrifying complexity of the world he was now part of, a city filled with parasites, hidden threats, and strange alliances. Every step he took, every observation he made, was a delicate dance between survival, understanding, and maintaining the fragile connection with the creature in his hand. The story unfolded like a living nightmare, where danger lurked in every shadow, and trust was the rarest commodity of all. Tamiya had asked Shinichi to meet her after school, and he agreed. Maggie also decided to join, curious and cautious at the same time. I have never seen a parasite so calm, living inside its host without causing chaos, Shinichi whispered to Maggie as they walked toward the meeting point. Awe and fear mixed in his voice. Tamiya was waiting with two other parasites she had called. Shimada, a high school student parasite, and Mr. A, an officer possessed by another parasite. The atmosphere was tense and heavy as Tamiya explained the purpose of their gathering. "We must survive by working together," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "We have created a network of parasites. We stay connected, sharing information and protecting ourselves while hiding among humans, feeding when necessary." She looked at Shinichi, her gaze sharp. "You must join this network too." Shinichi hesitated, shaking his head. "I'm not like you. I can't become a master parasite. You all are something else entirely." Tamiya nodded, almost proudly. Yes, we are all masters. That is why I conducted an experiment with Mr. A, and I became pregnant. Both of us are parasites. So, what will the child inside me become? She asked, her voice a strange mix of curiosity and fear. Mr. A answered sharply, you did this experiment using a human body. So, the child inside you is human. Tamiya's eyes widened, her expression haunted. Then who are we? If our child is human, what does that make us? We're just living through these bodies. Our purpose, our existence, it is connected to survival. That is why I created this network, thinking about the future of all parasites. Her words sent a shiver down Shinichi's spine, but she was not done. She leaned closer, threateningly. If you refuse to cooperate with us, do not attempt anything against us. One wrong move, and I can destroy this entire school in 3 seconds. Shinichi froze, the fear rooting him in place as Tamiya, Mr. A, and Shimada each looked at him, studying his terrified expression before leaving. Maggie, standing beside him, sensed danger immediately. Be careful, Shinichi. Mr. A doesn't seem right, she warned, her instincts sharp. Meanwhile, the city outside continued in deceptive calm. In the house, Mr. A and Shimada were feeding on humans, hidden in plain sight. Tamiya, however, was conducting experiments on herself, avoiding unnecessary killing. She ate human-like food, practicing to think and live as humans do, believing this was the key to surviving among them. Shinichi, on the other hand, was tormented with worry, unable to tell his mother the truth. He instructed her to stay indoors, knowing the streets were crawling with parasites preying on humans. But his mother, unaware of the danger, dismissed his concern. One night, as Shinichi returned home, he encountered Mr. A. The parasite realized that Shinichi and Maggie had been responsible for defeating another parasite at the shop and now attacked Shinichi in retaliation. Maggie fought fiercely to protect him. The battle was brutal, filled with strength, fear, and desperation. Shinichi stepped forward, thrusting a metal pipe into Mr. A. Blood poured from the human body, weakening the parasite. Because the parasite had occupied a human body, it was vulnerable, and it collapsed. Shinichi rushed home, but the parasite, desperate to survive, left the body and slithered onto the road, seeking a new host. Shinichi's mother happened to pass by, and the parasite immediately moved into her body. Maggie realized the danger instantly. She urged Shinichi to hide with a knife ready, knowing the parasite had now possessed his mother. Shinichi could hardly believe it, his mind racing with fear and confusion. He attempted to strike the parasite, wounding it, but in the process he himself was injured and a hole formed in his body. The parasite left, leaving Shinichi in pain and terrified, yet alive. Days passed as he recovered physically, but the trauma stayed with him. His body healed, but his spirit fell hollow. Shinichi wept quietly, realizing that surviving didn't mean happiness. Life had become a nightmare of fear and responsibility. The next day, while on his way somewhere, Shinichi encountered Satomi. She tried to speak to him, but his behavior had changed. He didn't respond, instead moving quickly, focused on something else. He went straight to Tamiya, seeking answers. "Where is Mr. A?" he demanded, his voice sharp with fear and urgency. Tamiya, calm as ever, responded, "You already defeated him, Shinichi. There's no need to worry about him now." Shinichi's world had grown even more complex. Parasites, humans, and experiments blended into a dangerous reality where trust, survival, and fear were inseparable. Every decision, every action could mean life or death, and Shinichi now had to navigate this shadowy world carefully, aware that one mistake could bring disaster to everyone he loved. Shinichi realized with a shiver that the parasite had left Mr. A's body and entered his mother's body. Panic gripped him, but he knew he had to find a way to locate the parasite. Yet, every attempt to track it failed. Time seemed to move cruelly, and despite his sharp instincts, Shinichi could not pinpoint Mr. A's whereabouts. Tamiya, watching both Shinichi and Maggie, maintained a terrifying control over them, radiating a calm but deadly aura. Shinichi, desperate, flung a knife toward her, but it fell harmlessly, missing its target entirely. Tamiya simply turned and walked away, leaving a lingering sense of fear. Meanwhile, the police officers investigating Mr. A's disappearance discovered his body and realized that the officer and the shop owner were both victims of a single controlling parasite. The officers were troubled to learn that Mr. A had already consumed some humans before being tracked, confirming the horrifying truth that the rumors spreading across the city were real. Parasites were indeed hiding inside humans, preying silently, though most citizens believed it to be just a story. Shinichi, meanwhile, scoured the city for his mother, moving carefully through dark streets. One day, he stumbled upon a political rally, where he realized in shock that even politicians were being controlled by parasites. They had infiltrated politics, spreading silently among humans. Maggie observed this with a grim satisfaction, noting that one day, these parasites could dominate the entire world. Soon after, Mr. A and Shimada, the police officer and student parasites, came to Shinichi's home. They questioned him carefully, but Shinichi, clever and cautious, managed to deceive them and escape their scrutiny. Days later, Shinichi returned to school, where he met Satomi again. On the same day, Shimada, a student transferred specifically to monitor Shinichi, appeared for the first time. He approached Shinichi, pretending to meet him casually before leaving, while Tamiya and Keimaya observed silently, noting changes in Shinichi's body ever since Maggie had helped save his life. They realized that Shinichi's body was now undergoing strange transformations, adapting partially like a parasite. Maggie, noticing this as well, confessed that since she had saved him, she too had been experiencing unusual effects. She explained to Shinichi that she needed to sleep several hours every day to recover and could not assist him while asleep. Meanwhile, the officers investigated ways to identify a parasite inside a human body. They discovered that if a parasite was present, pulling a human hair would cause it to curl. Testing this on a junior officer, they confirmed it was not a parasite, validating their method. Keimaya, using her network, understood that humans were learning to detect parasites, which meant that the parasite's secrecy was under threat. At the same time, Shinichi met Satomi, who instructed him to help prepare dinner since he was alone. They went shopping together, encountering a small, mangled dog lying in the road. Shinichi observed it quietly, noting, "Now it is only bones and body. Nothing else remains." He realized that his own thoughts were changing, beginning to think like a parasite, though he did not resist it. Satomi noticed this shift and left quietly, leaving Shinichi alone with his conflicted thoughts. The school principal, witnessing Tamiya's pregnancy, was stunned. He assumed that since she was unmarried, she had behaved immorally, and even her parents were informed. However, Keimaya, being a parasite herself, eliminated these threats efficiently. She prepared meals, coordinated events, and maintained her control quietly. The next day, Keimaya left school to organize supplies. Satomi went to her painting class, where many students, including girls collaborating on Shimada's painting, were present. One girl, teasing, broke a hair from Shimada. Immediately, it curled, revealing Shimada as a parasite. Realizing their secret was exposed, Shimada's monstrous side emerged. His terrifying expression caused the girls to scream, panic spreading through the classroom. Shinichi rushed to intervene, realizing the danger. Meanwhile, Keimaya appeared in her monstrous form, prepared to act. Tamiya quickly prepared chemicals to control the chaos, while Shimada, out of control, spread fire and attacked indiscriminately. The girls tried desperately to escape, screaming and dodging, while Satomi's friend arrived to assist. By the time Shinichi reached the scene, the classroom was in chaos, with frightened students struggling to survive. Shinichi was terrified, but he knew he had to be brave. Summoning every ounce of courage, he rushed to save Satomi, who was running for her life, dodging obstacles in the chaos around her. Shimada, fully transformed into a terrifying Japanese demon-like creature, was advancing with lethal speed. Shinichi confronted him, attempting to protect Satomi, his heart pounding in his chest. Just then, Keimaya appeared, commanding Shimada to calm down, her presence a mix of authority and fear. But before anything could settle, Keimaya threw a bomb, creating a massive explosion that shook the surroundings. Shinichi grabbed Satomi, pulling her to safety as debris flew everywhere. The blast caused confusion, and soon police and ambulances arrived at the scene. Satomi was injured in the chaos, so Shinichi immediately took her to the hospital. Meanwhile, the police officers ascended, unaware of the full extent of the danger. Shimada, however, attacked them with ferocity, killing them without hesitation. The demon-like creature roamed the school's rooftops, leaving destruction in its wake. Shinichi quickly thought of a plan. He climbed to another building, crafted a makeshift bow using a metal rod, and launched it like an arrow straight at Shimada. The rod pierced the creature, finally killing it. Shinichi, exhausted and terrified, escaped the scene. Keimaya appeared briefly, telling Shinichi she would disappear for a while, But before leaving, she provided him with his mother's location, giving him a crucial lead. Sometime later, the same two officers arrived, investigating the murder. They discovered that the attack had come from another building, but they had no idea who or what had orchestrated it. Shinichi, following the address given by Tamiya, finally found his mother. As he pursued her, they moved beneath a bridge, shadows stretching ominously around them. Maggie, struggling to stay awake, warned Shinichi, but he pressed on. Using his quick thinking, Shinichi crafted a weapon to protect himself. Exhausted, Maggie finally fell asleep, trusting him to handle the danger. Shinichi faced Mr. A, who had possessed his mother. A fierce battle ensued, with Shinichi fighting skillfully, using the weapon he had prepared. He was ready to defeat Mr. A when suddenly, he heard his mother's faint voice. Her consciousness, though weak, was still alive. Mr. A struck again, but Shinichi's mother, with her remaining strength, managed to shield him. Despite his anguish, Shinichi had no choice but to destroy Mr. A, tragically ending his mother's life to save himself. The pain and sorrow were unbearable, but survival left no other option. Later, when Maggie awoke, Shinichi recounted everything that had happened, the weight of grief and relief heavy in his voice. Meanwhile, the Parasyte politician had successfully won the election, rising to a powerful position. The police headquarters received information from Special Team about the growing Parasyte threat, codenamed Human Life Protection, signaling the beginning of a coordinated operation to save humans from the hidden invaders. The politician reported to Tamiya, where they were joined by an even more dangerous parasite named Ko. Ko declared his intention to destroy all of mankind, sending a chilling wave of fear through the room. Tamiya, however, was now concerned about her unborn child, the future weighing heavily on her mind. At the hospital, Satomi decided she would use her resources to hunt down and eliminate all threats. Meanwhile, someone was keeping a close eye on Shinichi, capturing photographs of him and Maggie together, observing their every move. The story concluded at this tense moment, leaving the city in suspense, the fate of humans and parasites hanging by a thread. Shinichi, Maggie, and their allies had survived incredible danger, but the war between humans and parasites had only just begun. And so, this story ends for now, but it is far from over. The battle, the mysteries, and the terror continue.
Join next time for another story that makes you think and feel. Until then, stay curious and stay safe.